Colin fans, cruise fans, to chapter 9 today. Quite a short chapter, possibly, thankfully. I'm going to meet in a minute anyway on the old Zoom app. That's interesting. This one, I'll go right back to almost where things began now with the Milkman, our favourite Milkman, Frank. This chapter is called The Milkman Goeth. Enter stage left, a white night. Well, a white early morning, anyway. In our midst to play the theme of the Charge of the Light Brigade on a middle-aged damson's dusty, half-forgotten heartstrings. Aforementioned pale-clad hero, Frank, straightened up from the doorstep, calloused hand pressing into the small of his back as useless physical support. He felt ever so slightly dazed on account of having just fatally headbutted, possibly by accident, the porcelain king of the gnomes figure, which until this morning had sat ruling supreme over the residence's front garden from its carved tree stump throne. Frank screwed his eyes up tightly for a moment to try to regain his grasp on reality. He opened his eyes up again. The milk bottles were right there where they should be, scattered shards of garden gnome forming an honour guard around them. Confident now in his grasp of current events, Frank began to straighten up. The brass number 34 passed north to south for his eye line. Two more strangely elongated milk bottle shapes hove into view through the opaque glass of the front door. With significant effort on Frank's part, these refocused into a pair of pasty legs, their naked shape only slightly distorted by the door's glass. Said door, which was now being flung open, the force of its sudden vacuum almost drawing Frank bodily into the hallway. He caught his breath and reached for his inhaler, all the time his pupils inexorably focusing on a set of bright red toenails. Frank puffed on his inhaler, his emergency blue one, not the brown one he had for normal use. He dragged his eyes from the toes, but treacherously, with a mind of their own, they began to follow a motorway interchange of varicose veins ever upwards towards the seemingly ample meadows of what Nigel and Lawson would probably call inner thigh wobble. Frank scrabbled away from the shrieking madwoman who whirled her dressing gown around her head with such abandon. Even in her prime, Deirdre wouldn't have been what you'd call stunning. Now, shortly pre-retirement age, she'd been dragged down to depressingly dowdy depths by a marriage which had become a train wreck. Not even a proper train wreck that with police cordons and death roll reported in the Daily Mail. It was a low-budget, spare bedroom model train wreck with no press interest and no sensational claims of infidelity involving a minor royal. And this is where it led her. A rice pudding-fueled bulimic episode and an irrational crush on the milkman whose pacemaker had just kicked into overdrive in response to the madwoman who had leapt out of the doorstep swinging her dressing gown around like John Wayne trying to lasso an errant cow. Cutting out the middleman, in this case by going for an errant milkman, and screaming, "What are you waiting for, big boy?" She was like a thing from Frank's nightmares. He staggered backwards, his assailant's dressing gown cord now entangled around his head. Frank thought to free himself, and hangover forgotten, turned and charged towards the garden gate, scattering shards of hand-painted midget beard and child-sized fishing rod across the path. He tripped, rolled and came up again at a dead run, still carrying his milkman's plastic basket, before vaulting the peeling white painted picket gate and diving into the driver's seat of his milk float. He never even broke stride. He hammered his right foot down onto the accelerator, and the world's least effective drag racer gradually disappeared from view. Meanwhile, back at number 34, the chaotic damsel in this scene had already retied her dressing gown, wandered upstairs to the kitchen, switched on BBC Breakfast, and was now making the first cup of tea. Well, that's the menopause for you. Oh well, she sighed, sugar levels normalising, in the direction of Bill Turnbull's hamster-like mug on the screen. We'll put that one down to experience, shall we? Deirdre had learned to live with disappointment, also known as Clive. 15 minutes and 2 miles away. Frank, his nerves now totally shot through, badly needed another drink. He'd been driving the same round for 3 years and could usually do an autopilot, but any psychotherapist worth their salt would have quickly identified that today's diversion had been too much for his drink-sodden mind. Frank himself realised this fact a fraction of a second after he passed the set of pretty red lights and found himself speeding, well, relatively speeding, straight into the path of an oncoming IKEA lorry. Frank closed his eyes and jammed on the brakes, swerving across the road, splashing a river of milk over the high street. The torrent carried in its frosty a deadly cargo of jagged broken bottle glass shards. The squeal of HGV brakes bore down on him. As Frank awaited the impending impact, silence ensued. Seconds passed, and then some more seconds. Eyes still tightly closed, he ungripped the steering wheel and checked that all his limbs were still present. He checked again, counting them this time just to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. So far so good. Frank cautiously opened one wrinkled eyelid and surveyed the chaos he'd created. Oh shit! So far so bad. I'm sorry. Oh shit, he croaked. So far so bad. Assorted dairy products lapped up against the curbs and gurgled down gutters. Pain lanced through his abdomen to match their red stains spreading across his lap. The blue and yellow colours of the Swedish furniture superstore lorry stood motionless, mounting the opposite pavement as more warm red liquid dripped from the peak of Frank's special milkman's hat to land in his quivering lap. Oh, his quivering lip, sorry. His quivering lap. It tasted not of blood, but of strawberry yoghurt. The fridge on the milk float had been playing up recently. Frank felt his world swim back into focus as he breathed a sigh of relief. Separated from the written off milk float by 20 yards of pothole tarmac, a mangled pair of orange lycra leggings adorned the lower half of a motionless cagoule clad upper body. Both halves of the body were contorted into a sickening curb-plastered mess outside the dial-a-cab office, which didn't open until 6 p.m. Contrary to the often cited reference, blood looks nothing like tomato sauce. In fact, to stretch a metaphor, the Heinz ketchup advertising is wrong in pretty much every respect. It does run, run, run. It really does run, run. It does run, run, run. It does run, run. All across the road and into a nearby drain, while drivers took to the opposite carriageway to avoid the grisly spillage. A man's life, seemingly, flowing away. Clashing even more badly with a flow of claret than with his own varied lycra luminosity, Clive's lifeless body lay pinioned to a man-sized cardboard box, which stated in big black letters on its white label that it could be found on aisle 1, shelf 23. Other similar boxes lay nearby, all of them either blood-spattered or split open to reveal their battered MDF and laminate contents. Protruding from the box in question, though, was the leg of a pretend pine coffee table, which formed the centrepiece of a horrid and bizarre kebab. Clive, if the mess on the road could still be referred to as Clive, still clutched the model signal box and the remaining half of his sandwich. He never had been able to multitask, and now he paid the ultimate price. It's lucky, really, that Clive had taken out the life insurance policy when he did. Hang on a minute. If it was milk day, why did you put milk on Clive's shopping list? Or orange juice and yoghurt, for that matter. The plot thickens.